Okay, you're at Buckingham Palace in London. The changing of the guard happens at the same time every day. Actually, a lot more security at the moment because of the attacks in Berlin, but going off as planned. But you'll also notice that above the palace is a flag, and it's the royal standard, and it signifies that the Queen is in residence, and that wasn't what we're expecting to be the case today, because she's meant to be in Sandringham, which is their Norfolk home. And they go up there every year for their Christmas, and all the family gathers around the Queen and Prince Philip, but they didn't go yesterday, and it was a last-minute cancellation. We now know that they've got heavy colds, and that's why they didn't go up there, but now there's lots of speculation about how bad those colds are, why both of them have got a cold, and things like that. But there's a bit of a vacuum of information, because this is a private event up in Sandringham, so they don't necessarily comment on them. But we're expecting a line of information today about whether or not they'll continue their planned trip to Sandringham. I suspect they'll do whatever they can to go up there, but if they don't, there will be some speculation around them, simply because it's, they're both in their 90s now. Prince Philip is 95. So to have a heavy cold at that age is a lot more sensitive than it would be at other ages, younger ages, and they need to be particularly cautious. We don't know either whether or not this is on doctor's orders. They've been told to stay here at Buckingham Palace, or whether or not it was their own decision. I'm sure they'll want to go up to Sandringham as soon as they can. We've also got the cavalry coming down the road as well. This is one of the most popular events for the tourism, for tourists coming to London. So a lot of pomp and ceremony. You can see all the tourists gathered actually, and I'm sure they're wondering how the Queen is inside. So any questions I can answer, I will. A lot of it will be have to be inevitably speculation and what I know in terms of context of what's happened before, because we've literally only got a couple of lines of official information from the palace. Are the Queen and Philip generally in good health? Incredibly good health. The Queen actually doesn't live here most of the time. She lives out of Windsor Castle, west of London, where they've got a big park, and she goes riding every day. Prince Philip goes carriage riding. I'm not sure if it's every day, but certainly regularly, at least once a week. And they're still walking, they're still fit, and they're still taking out as many engagements as they used to do, but people tend to come to them more. So incredibly fit for their age, certainly for people in their 90s. We have seen some sort of cutbacks. The Queen gave up responsibility for about 25 charities earlier this week. There was a handrail installed when she went into St Paul's Cathedral recently. And she doesn't do as many investitures, when they put the sword on the shoulders of people who are being knighted, for example, handing over more responsibilities to the rest of the family. But at the same time, no signs of abdication whatsoever. Why has she stepped down from being patron of so many charities? She's literally patron of hundreds of charities. The Queen herself really invented the idea of charitable work and brought it into the formal role of the monarch here in the United Kingdom. So she has a particularly large number of royal patronages, but with that comes responsibility. So going to charitable events, organisations events, and she just can't keep up with the amount that she's having to do. So she hasn't stripped them of their patronages, she's just handed them over to other members of the family. So the Duchess of Cambridge, for example, has taken over the patronage of Wimbledon. Prince William's taken over football, Harry's doing rugby. So she's still, they've still got royal patronages. It's just the Queen won't be the head of them. What are the royals' Christmas plans? Well, the royals' Christmas plans are informal. They're not part of the official calendar. So it's a private event. They all go up to Sandringham and they have a big Christmas dinner. So that's their estate in Norfolk. And the Queen will always stay there into February, after the anniversary of her father's death. So she always marks that privately. It's not something she wants to be seen in public doing. It's not a celebratory event. So they all go up to Sandringham, and that's how they do it. This year, Prince William and Kate won't be with them. Their family's going to Bucklebury to spend time with her family. But that's what they do every Christmas. We don't really know much about what goes on there. This is a private event, but it's basically a big dinner from what I understand. Has security around the royals been increased? It has been, and you ask at an opportune time, because as I was saying earlier, they have increased security at changing of the guard every day because of what happened in Berlin. Beyond that, we're not really told about any aspects of their security for obvious reasons, but we are watching to see if there's more security around them. certainly when it comes to terror threats in the United Kingdom, the Queen's, the royal family are often mentioned. So there's always very tough security, particularly about around the members of the royal family who've had military involvement. So Prince Harry's got particular protection, and also Prince Andrew, for example. But Prince Harry, actually, he's often surrounded by a lot of security because of his role in Afghanistan. Will Meghan Markle be visiting the royal family for Christmas? I can't, I don't know, because we would never have that confirmed from the royal family. But what I can tell you is that almost certainly not, because girlfriends aren't invited to Sandringham at Christmas. It's only once they're married they're invited up there. That's tradition. It might change one year. I can't predict that, but certainly she wouldn't be invited based on previous evidence. And we have had it confirmed that her and Harry are boyfriend and girlfriend, but nothing beyond that. What goes on during the changing of the guard? There's a guard outside Buckingham Palace all the time. They are, they can't be there 24 hours a day. So it's literally just a change in shift. But it's still got all of the pomp and ceremony around it that it's always had. And that's because, they like to stick to tradition, but it's one of the big attractions of London. So one of the biggest tourist attractions in the UK is coming to Buckingham Palace, and particularly changing of the guard. So that's a big draw to the UK, and it's certainly something the government and the tourism authorities encourage, and I think the palace is aware of that as well. So it's a tourism event, but fundamentally it's a security arrangement that they freshen up the guards around the palace every day. What will we find out if the Queen's condition has? When will we find out if the Queen's condition has improved? At the moment, all they've said is that they've got a cold. They won't want to give a running commentary on it unless they think there's some sort of grave concern, and there's absolutely no sign of that whatsoever. So we're really looking out for markers. So we know that she goes to Sandringham at this time of year. She hasn't done that. We know she's got a cold. That's why she hasn't gone. So we're just keeping an eye on the flag above the palace. If that goes to if that comes down and is replaced by the Union flag, that will indicate that she's left, and we can assume that she's gone to Sandringham. And that would indicate that their health is such that they're able to travel. Has the Queen already recorded her Christmas message? Yes. It's all in the bag, and it will go out on Sunday. Whatever happens with her health, I'm sure. So that's always pre-recorded. It's a big sort of production, and I haven't seen it yet, but she will basically sum up the year and speak to the nation about, she's really, one of her roles is as a figurehead for the nation, and to encapsulate how the nation's really felt over the last year and looking ahead, and that's what she'll do in that. But it's all done on tape. Are Prince William and his family going to Sandringham? No, they're not. They're going to the Middleton's family home, which is in Berkshire, west of London. That was quite a break from tradition, that he didn't go to Sandringham for the first time, but he's making it his own tradition. So I think that will be happening quite regularly in future. I know that Kate's parents are very involved in the kids, so they like to be together as much as possible. Lots of people are big fans of The Crown. How accurate is it? I haven't seen it, and I wish I had, but I can't really say much more than that. From what I've heard about it, certainly there's lots of truth to it. I don't know, no doubt they won't have full information about all of the events that happen. No one will ever have that. The Queen and Prince Philip will keep that private. So they've had to fill in some of the grey areas, which aren't going to be completely accurate, but I think the tone of it, from what I've heard, has been quite accurate. But that's not from the palace, and based on the fact that I haven't actually seen it. When will the palace be open to the public again? It's open every summer. There's a lot of pressure actually on the palace to open all year round, particularly as they excuse me, particularly as they have this massive refurbishment program, which is going to increase royal budget substantially at a time when there's a lot of pressure on tax income and the economy with Brexit. So there's if they are going to refurbish the whole building to the cost of tens of millions of pounds, a lot of pressure for them to open it up more, so those tourists currently gathered around the gates can actually go inside and see. How old is Prince Philip? He's 95. Still fit as a fiddle, and the Queen is 90. I mean, that's really why this is a story. The fact they got heavy colds. That at that age, it can quite easily sort of escalate, but they got the best care. So I'm sure it'll be fine. So, end of questions. Changing the guard continues. The flag continues to be flown above Buckingham Palace. No update from yesterday, but we're watching to see if the Queen and Prince Philip do head up to Sandringham, indicating that their health is at least stable and their colds are manageable. Thank you.